Folks, sit there at Plastic Galaxy Twister. We hope you're doing absolutely wonderful today. Michael says hello. James, what's up? John Wall, what's up? Ted B, hello there. Hope you're staying safe down there, man. What a what a gong show. Yeah, man, it's definitely. I heard a rumor the other day that it was kind of a funny one that all this the COVID stuff and all the the racial the climate down here is just all a big hoax to get everybody to watch the elections coming up, because when you can't go anywhere, football's canceled, you got to watch TV, right? You're gonna have the highest turnout ever for the political ratings. I'm just joking, but man, not right now. I don't have any. What's up, Scott? Oh, Scott, and by the way, Scott, I got your message. I'm gonna have to send that to CAS, and they'll give me a quote. So I'll send it in for you, and they'll give me how much it's gonna cost to get that done, because I won't know until they give me an estimate for that. So they have to physically see it and measure it out and all that stuff. But I'll get that taken care of for you. Yeah. Let's see what everybody kind of file on here. James, Scott 10-4. Okay, cool. Well, good to see you guys. I took a little sabbatical, went to a little vacation, or whatever you want to call it, is where I went for a little bit, had fun. Got off the grid a little, for a little bit, and I was able to kind of, get off the internets, which is a good thing. I highly encourage every once in a while to distance yourself from the binary or from the the binary world, so to speak. It's a good thing. Get out there and go fishing and whatever it is you do, be one with nature, all that good stuff. Yeah. So yeah, hope you guys are doing well. We have a live sale tonight. At least that's the plan. Smaller, like I said, inflated. Yeah, and when I was, I'm a really impulsive person. People that know me, which is good and bad. I have an idea and I do it, sometimes with a little bit of thought, sometimes with no thought, sometimes with a lot of thought. So it's good and bad, right? Some people are impulsive, it's a great thing. Some people are impulsive, it's a bad thing. So when I said the whole talking, no, didn't go to Florida, Rob. I mean, I did months ago, but not lately. So I said that, I had the talking point there, talking politics. What my goal with that was really kind of a shock value too, because, I was going to kind of look through some general kind of headlines and non-biased tagline. I'm talking about actual what's really going on in the world, not like a slanted view of something, of like a spin, if you will, and kind of get your opinions on that stuff. Michael obviously had an opinion there about something like that, and see what you guys have to think about it. And I kind of play moderator a little bit. I definitely don't want to encourage this, but at the same time, you hear other people's opinions. Sometimes it opens your eyes, and that's how we learn things. It's okay to be different, and it's okay to have a different opinion, but we don't need to blast people for it, right? That's the problem, man. Everybody's like have a different opinion, and everybody's pissed off. It's like, okay, you know what? I get it. But there's no point, to you lose all credibility, in my opinion, when you just start slinging mud. It's just stupid, right? It's just like you just might as well go back to kindergarten. So they made a good point. He said COVID will have small numbers after the elections. Instead of inflated numbers, you stub your toe and go to the ER, you have COVID. That's an interesting topic, because I've heard a lot about that lately. And he's, obviously mentioned that the COVID numbers are inflated a little bit, based upon the way they test. You hear two sides of that story, obviously. Personally, I tend to believe that, numbers do get inflated sometimes. That is not an indictment or an excuse to say you shouldn't be careful and shouldn't take precautions, because I think you should to a certain degree. That's a personal choice, obviously. In some places, it's a mandatory thing, which is another whole ball of wax legally. But, there's been a lot of talk about that. So it's a good point that, if you die of something that is not related to COVID, but you had COVID, it gets counts as a COVID case, which inflates the number. That's not right, because if you're not dying because of that or a symptom of that, it should not be classified as a death due to COVID, right? That's like dying of cancer, and you die of cancer, but you had COVID as well, which had nothing to do with your death, but then it just counts as a COVID death. That's wrong. Now, I'm not suggesting that's across the board. I'm just saying if that's going on, that's wrong, because that's just misinformation, right? So that's a good point. Good talking point. Who said up here? Said, I live in Brittany, but my brother's in Florida, so I'm a bit concerned about the situation there. Yeah, exactly. Right. Okay. I'm talking. Okay. Florida. Yeah. Florida is a hot spot right now. Florida, Texas, and Arizona. Those states are really flared up. But what bothers me about statistics? Everybody has their statistics. But here's the thing: is if you go with one set of data, you can't pick and choose what you want out of that data, right? So if the numbers of if the tested cases are increasing, which that's a given, I think, because people are getting out more, and the government said that. They actually said it was going to happen again, or they alluded to it. Then yes, numbers go up, but I think it is a key point. If you look at those numbers, if the deaths go down or are significantly less proportionate to the cases, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be alarmed by it, but it is an indicator that maybe it's not as harmful as maybe some have thought, and that's not to dismiss it. You shouldn't just go start, licking guardrails and stuff like that, and just act like nothing's going on. You should still protect yourself, right? But there is something to that. You can't cherry pick your numbers out of statistics. You can't go with one and say, well, I like this number, but I like this number just to suit your agenda, right? That's just wrong, and that happens across the political spectrum, right? That's just a bunch of BS. And those people do that. I just say, get out of here. It's just, I don't. They have no what. You're just lying, basically, right? So there you go. The political climate, if you don't agree with me, no one wants to have a civil dialogue. And exactly, I'm looking at P&R Comp guy. I'm going down the comments here. Just leave a comment. I'll get to you. Exactly. And that's what makes me mad is like I sit down and have a discussion with somebody. Like if friends have been lost, marriages have been divided, communities have been divided over a difference of opinion. It's one thing to have an opinion and disagree and say, hey man, this is how this is my take on it, this is your take on it, and just walk away and have a friendly dialogue. But what's happening these days is you have an opinion, I have an opinion, and we're walking away doing this, right? No, that's like third grade crap. Knock that off. And I get it. People are charged up. They're coming off COVID. They're charged up, and then we had the whole the George Floyd deal, then the Atlanta thing after that came. It just kind of a shit show, if you will, a shit storm, if you will, of stoking the fire on that whole deal, which sucks. But I've always kind of believed, like, regardless of who you are in life, you don't get. I listen to Dave Ramsey a lot, and I don't fully agree with everything he says, but like talking about numbers, you don't get a pass on math just because your situation. You don't get a pass on intelligence and common sense just because you're caught up in the moment. You need to be level-headed, right? You have to. There's been an even keel at a standard of which we work off of, and if you're going to be below that standard, nobody's going to take you seriously. And that's the problem I think I see a lot what's going on today is when you act a certain way, and the tearing down of the monuments and all that stuff like that. That's another deal, but regardless if that's your conviction or not, and you believe in that, it just looks bad. You know what I'm saying? It's not maybe your dedication, your spirit to whatever it is, your movement or whatever it may be. It just looks bad, and people see that, and it taints your whole situation. That's just a bad thing. Is like you need to really think about what you're doing before you do it. Because other people are going to think of it in a different way, and they're going to paint your whole community, in that light. And I'm not talking about black people. I'm talking about anybody. But we got enough morons in America to go around. They don't have to be a certain color. I'll tell you that much. It has been a shit show. I'm in PA. Our numbers have gone up since the state turned green. Now we are getting more restrictions. I think. Hold on a second. No, it's over there. Now we're getting more restrictions. Okay, gotcha. It also says it's okay. Michael says it's okay for you to believe what you believe. It's not okay for you to demand others believe the same way. You all have different views. Yeah, exactly. And that's what really bothers me. It's like, for instance, this would be a situation. It didn't happen to me. But let's say somebody comes up to me and ask me a question. They say, do you believe that this is wrong? Let's just say for the sake of argument, racism or whatever political word we put in there, not political, but a situation. I say, yeah, man, that's horrible. And so the next follow-up question is, well, why aren't you doing this? Or to follow up with that, and then you go, well, I believe in the cause and I believe in the spirit, but I don't believe the way that it's going about per se, right? Then it becomes, oh, you're racist, or oh, you're this, or that's just BS, man. It's like if you don't believe something, you can actually have a common ground, but it's almost like they want you, or whoever it is, if you're not fully on board and, submit to whatever it is that their agenda is, and then you get thrown into the other group. And that's just hogwash. That's BS. That turns so many people away. I'm a firm believer that you catch more flies with honey. You will create more friendships and more alliances by being nice than you will with the other end of it. That's just, be nice. It's so much easier to be nice than it causes less problems than to be a dick. Sorry about that. Back now. Gotcha. If we all followed simple moral philosophies and the 10 Commandments, that's another thing. I don't like to get into the religious stuff a whole lot, but there's a lot to be said about the 10 Commandments, and regardless of your religious beliefs, there's some great guidelines there. And they make a lot of sense. Don't kill. Don't commit adultery. These things are good moralities to follow, right? These are things that will likely make you a better person in society. So, whether like I said, whether you're into into that doctrine or not, that's still a very good set of guidelines to go off of. And people want to tear those down too, because there's obviously religious and political tie-ins, because over the years. So, take it for what it's worth. You don't have to be religious or to value the 10 Commandments, right? That doesn't mean because you follow the 10 Commandments or try your best to adhere to those general rules of society, if you will. Doesn't mean that you're all of a sudden a Bible thumping whatever. It doesn't mean that. It just means that you agree with that philosophy of life, right? So yeah. But yeah, there's just a lot of crap going on in the world, and people just need to take a breather. And I think that's why a lot of people, the travel industry is very, the recreational vehicles and that kind of stuff have really taken off this summer, because people just want to get the hell away from other people. They want to take their families and enjoy the summer, and get away from just the madness, especially in the big cities, right? But yeah. So anyway, that's kind of like when I said that, I was just kind of going to mention that, like, it'd be cool to see what everybody's take on it. And one thing I've always loved about the people that come on our live videos, and I don't know why that is. I guess we're just lucky. I don't want to jinx it. Very civil. People are really. You don't hear a lot of anything, whether it's toys or whatever. People don't get into the whole, screaming matches and throwing mud and all that stuff. That's great. That's, and I can see a lot of other places where that would be easy for that to happen, because everybody's online and they have a voice and they have an opinion, which is great, once again. But, just because you have an opinion and you want to say something doesn't mean you have to say it a certain way. You can always, or not say it at all. Sometimes it's better not to say it at all, just because online, unfortunately, is not the same as real life. People say things all the time they would never say in public. It's kind of a buffer. It's like a shield. Internet commandos, right? Or keyboard warriors, that little meme of that young kid, and he's just like this, and he thinks he's like, some, special recon platoon, just crazy, right? Some Call of Duty hero online, whatever. It's gone mad. Maturity, yes, and that's a good point. It's called maturity, and I will say that. You can't. What's funny is you can't even say that, right? It's so politically incorrect to say that. If somebody says you just need to grow up, it's a trigger point, and everybody associates a trigger like that word with like a political viewpoint or like a left thing or whatever it may be, which, whatever. But I just consider it a point. People get triggered for everything. You get triggered so easily by something that offends you. It's just like, but what the great thing about the offensive, what really bothers me about it is in the United States, unlike other countries, I don't know. I mean, there are probably some examples. I believe it's the First Amendment, right? The freedom of speech. I'm correct. I can't even go back on those. But the freedom of speech entitles you to say whatever you want to say, as long as you don't infringe upon the rights of others. So you cannot have a call to action, right? So I can sit there and say, you are a jerk, right? And if you get offended by that, that's your problem, not mine, because I have the legal and the moral right to say that. Now, moral right's a little interesting because that's, it comes within, but you have the right to say it. Now, if I sit there and say, go beat that jerk up, that's a call to action. That's wrong. You can't do that. That's illegal because you are inciting something. But that works on the same hand as if somebody is, racist, that's a bad thing in my opinion. But they are allowed to say whatever they want to say under the Constitution of the United States, as long as it does not, have a call to action. So people get so offended by words, and when they should be getting offended by actions is the big thing, right? So it's just like pull up your bootstraps, put your thick skin on, because the world is not going to be friendly, and just deal with it and just move along and realize those people are not going to be in your lives, and they probably aren't already. So have some thick skin and grow up. Exactly. That's like we said, grow up. Maturity. That's a big thing, even for us 40-year-olds. And trust me, my wife reminds me of it all the time. But it is what it is. Yeah, exactly. Good point, Josh. What's up, Joshua? He says, just remember this virus is so bad that you have to get tested just to know you have it. Think about that. Yeah. That's, I think here I'm kind of in that whole thing. I'm kind of dismissive about it. I mean, obviously you see both sides of that. Here's the argument is, well, if you don't wear a mask and if you don't do this, you're selfish. You could infect other people. Okay. But on the same hand, you look at that and somebody goes, well, you're telling me what to do. I'm not legally required to do that. You're being selfish. You're invading my rights, not mine, but one's rights. So there needs to be some common ground there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I still believe that people just as generally, and I've always been stay away from people anyway. I don't get within 6 feet or whatever, regardless. I just don't like being around close to people I think it's encroaching upon their personal space anyway. I mean, if you're within 6 feet of somebody, you're probably too close anyway. So, I mean, it's never really bothered me. So, I mean, whatever. And the whole mask thing, that's a personal preference. I just got back on a flight. They required it, so I wore one, no big deal, so whatever. Sticks and stones, yep. I'm finding, what's he say? I'm finding myself getting back into all the stuff I loved as a kid, art of escapism, transport myself back. That's a good thing, Dean. Yeah, that's a way that you can have your own little world, right? You can escape and get out of the madness and let's all be completely honest here, and which is one thing that we understand. News is news, but news is driven by advertising. So if there's no news, there's no advertising, no money, nobody gets paid. So they're always stoking the fire from CNN to Fox. That's what they do. They always embellish everything or trump it up. Trump it up, right? I didn't mean to just said that. Stoke it up, So they're always making it bigger than it is, sensationalize it and whatever to create a story. And that's partly their job. They have to do that, have a flair to it. But when you start getting into the political slants, on both ends, it becomes a little bit kind of annoying. Even if you're a hardcore right or left, at some point you're going, okay, this is just dumb. This is just, it's like you are just going way too far with this. It's like I don't see where you're reaching. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it is what it is on that. You have to escape from reality and get back to something that you can enjoy, right? Like toys or old movies or whatever it may be, and that's a good thing. It's because it's sometimes we need that. We need to jump in the time machine. Okay, Racism is bad in one direction or the other. People claiming racism is wrong should watch themselves in the way of acting and ask themselves if they don't have racist behavior while they're claiming the opposite. And yes, a.k.a. Ted B there. Sorry, I can't pronounce your last name. And I would tend to agree with that. I mean, that's, by definition, if your cause is to defeat something, a la racism, sexism, whatever it may be, and you are becoming that person, first of all, it's hypocritical. Second of all, it just makes you look like an idiot. I mean, it does. It makes you look like an idiot. And nobody will, and the outside moderates that are looking at this from both ends of this and don't really have a chip in the game, so to speak, are going to see that. The discerning public sees that, and they're like, man, you're making your whole movement or your whole movement, that's a bad word, maybe your whole climate look bad. And that's a bad thing, man. It's just, and that goes on both ends, everywhere. You need to, if you're going to represent your cause, do it with class and do it with dignity and do it the right way. And, like a Martin Luther King or whatever, that type of situation. And, there's, people pick and choose what they want from his marches and his doctrine or what have you. But overall, I mean, he was very positive, didn't call for violence, things like that. That is a noble way to go about your to go about championing your cause, whatever it may be. Screaming and yelling and violence and all that stuff. First off, you're not going to win. Nobody wins doing that. I'm sorry, nobody wins. This is not. People like to akin this to the, this is the new revolution, like, back, when America declared independence. It's not like that, I mean, people are making it seem like that. It's nowhere near that close, and, that's their justification for their actions, and I'm like, no, nobody is, having a tyrannical government, we're still paying taxes. That's what we broke away from years ago, so I guess we should all be pissed. But my my point is that, be an ambassador of your cause. Don't be the jackass. Regardless if you have it or don't have, you're going to get it already. You're going to get it already. Yeah, okay, gotcha. News is propaganda. Unfortunately, yes, it is. And there are shades of, real truth in there. And unfortunately, you got to pick it out, right? Or find a different outlet. And, that's the problem, is finding legit news is tough because in a mainstream setting, it's all driven by money, right? So, and they have their pushes on it. So you have to be careful, and you have to not fall into the trap of, well, such and such says this, that must be the reason why. Use some critical thinking, but that's also hard too, because the news only shows you what they want you to see. So, like, they'll edit videos and things like that to make it, and you don't see the whole thing, and then 3 months later you're like, well, that made a huge difference to see the entirety of that video, So, there you go. No truth in news and no news in truth. That's a good point. Matt says, I don't get overly involved with it. I have lived through multiple presidents in my life. Hardly changed with each president. You know what what changed your life? Decisions you make. That's what's changed. Over the last 15 years, all I see is people laying blame on everything else but themselves. Pitiful. Yes, I agree with that. I'm sure. What's funny is a lot of people are making comments and nobody's really disagreeing with anybody, which is interesting. I'm not calling for that. I'm just like, it's interesting that you guys are kind of on the same page. And yes, I agree with that too. The decisions that you make change your life, not the decisions somebody else makes. There are instances where injustice happens and it changes somebody's life. Absolutely. Unfortunately, life is not fair, and I just call it a coefficient or something like that. It's just a percentage. It's like winning the lottery. It's going to happen. Unfortunately, bad things happen to good people. It happens across the board to every race. And by the way, every race, I hate using the word race because we're all only one race, the human race. But, with every individual and every social group or what have you, every atmosphere out there, your climate, all that, it happens everywhere. Rich people, poor people, black, white, green, yellow, it happens to everybody. People get screwed, and that sucks. Now, I will say that I think that percentage could be reduced even more if people didn't involve themselves in risky behavior, as my wife likes to call it. Risky behavior. Well, what's risky behavior? Name some. If you're out drinking all night with your friends and you're driving around doing silly stuff, and you get in trouble because maybe even if you weren't doing it, that's still risky behavior. Does that mean you were wrong? No, but you were there. Like being promiscuous, you can say I protected myself every time, and then somebody gets in a situation, they get pregnant. Well, there's a chance that sometimes those contraceptives don't work, right? It's just, my point is, when you're doing, my dad used to always say, when you're doing the right things with the right people at the right time, bad things usually don't happen, so surround yourself with positivity, with positive people that are doing the right things in life and not breaking the law, and likelihood of things happening to you go significantly down, right? So there's my PSA for the day. But it's common sense. I mean, if you're going to be a knucklehead, you're going to get treated like one, and if you're going to hang around them, you're going to get lumped into that category, right or wrong. That's just the way of the world. If you look and dress and act like a fool, you're probably going to get treated like a fool. Is that right? No. But fortunately, people see what they want to see, and that sucks, but they're not going to make an exception for every case. It just doesn't work that way. It just will never happen, Sorry. Do we need a mandatory vaccine if most recover from it? That's a good question too. Much like the flu, right? Are they now? I'll say they don't require mandatory for the flu. So are they going to require this if and when they have a vaccine? Good question. So billionaires get rich and more power, they control the technology and vaccine. Yep, that's true. There is something to be said about power and corruption and how that goes together. And, you would love to think that every billionaire and trillionaire is a philanthropist and they're just the greatest people in the world. The honest truth of it is, to become a billionaire and to become that level, you're pretty shrewd. And you have to be cutthroat, because the world, the world is that place. To beat somebody else out and have that type of money, it's not just about you being intelligent and having great products. You have to be cutthroat, and you have to do the things that other people will not do. And that mentality, unfortunately, is at the very top. You know what I mean? That's just the way of the world. Dog eat dog. It's like warfare. I mean, there is no common ground when there's a war, right? I mean, there are some, rules of war, if you will, but people break those all the time. We know that. The U.S. does. I mean, it's just the way it is. It's, there's good guidelines, but shit, pardon me, happens. So it's unfortunate that people at the top, they control a lot of stuff. I mean, that's, it could be a lot worse. It could be like some other countries and places where it's just completely dictatorships and you have no say. I still believe the United States, in my humble opinion, I'm a little biased from here, is the best country in the world as far as the freedoms and religions and all those types of the freedoms and what we enjoy. Not knocking anywhere else. I've been to other countries and I loved it, but I've also heard, their their policies are not what I would want. But hey, people still live there and they love it. More power to them, and I'm knocking it. It's just my opinion. So, perception becomes reality, or is reality. I, for one, believe abortion should be illegal. That's another hot topic. I mean, could be. I don't think it is illegal anymore. I think they have pretty much every state. I think a few states have it still illegal or require a lot of restrictions on it or something like that. I don't know, but that's another hot topic. Another one of those things. Mike says looking for pop-up R2 clean, no saber needed. I don't have one, but I'll let you know if I get one. Billionaires fund both sides of the war because they don't care who wins, just how much profits. Yep. You know who usually wins in wars? Not the countries. Well, I guess the spoils of war kind of a thing. They may win, if you want to call it that. Companies win. They're the ones making money, and billions and billions and billions of dollars off of ammunition and things. And that's the reality going back to World War II. And back to any time there's been a war, the people who make the money off it are the warmongers, right, if you will. And I'm not saying there's nothing. I'm not slanting war because it is necessary, depending upon what the situation. But yes, they make tons of money, and there is influence there, obviously. So yeah, and just take it with a grain of salt. It's just one of those things where you just have to, where money is going to be made is going to be made. So okay. Let's see what he says. There's meant to be some arrests happening at the top over this Epstein stuff. But yeah, that's interesting to see too. Not only do we have the COVID, not only do we have the George Floyd stuff and the wake of that. Now we have the Epstein stuff resurging, and then we're going to have the election. Talk about, and we're not even halfway through. Wait, we're just now half into the year. What is the back half of 2020 going to be like? Is Christmas even going to happen? Right? Okay. If we can get charged with murder for 2 people, it was pregnant woman that you should get charged with. Okay. I hear where you come from, Josh. The law is very wishy-washy when coming up from more. Yeah. That's a really touchy subject, and I understand. People are very emotional about about the abortion thing. And have my own personal opinions about that. I don't. Something like that. It's really. I personally, it's not where I would go. You know what I'm saying? Like as far as, I don't believe necessarily that's the right way to do things. But it's just kind of a touchy subject because people get really offended by it, so I'm going to kind of stay away from it just because, But there you go. Okay. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Here's where the argument always falls, and I don't want to get into the abortion thing because it's just people are either one way or the other, and there's no middle ground there usually. The argument's always, freedom. You're protecting life, right? And then one side says, well, life doesn't happen until X trimester or whatever. The other side says it's at, obviously at conception. And that's all up to interpretation to a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? I think the argument of, I believe it's, when it happens, at conception, there's a reaction there and a life is born. Now, somebody else argues, well, it's not breathing, it's not doing all this other stuff. Well, it's all this is the difference. It's all depends on how you believe. But I also think a lot of people believe things based upon their situation. So if they're a scared teenager and they are not in the right spot to have a child, and they hear that, oh, well, don't worry about it. It doesn't happen until it's born, and you're not really killing anybody. They convince themselves to think that, and then it's okay. Said I never say anybody's wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that probably happens a lot. People get scared and they do things impulsively. So, but hey, I will say that a lot of people have what do you call that? Regretted that decision. Have just had trauma after that, making those type of decisions, and that's got to be so hard. Anyway, see, Scott, cool, man. So, but just like I said, my goal to have kind of this kind of friendly conversation is not to cause problems. I just, maybe somebody has a different opinion that you say, that makes a good point. Now, you're not going to change your mind, maybe, but you can at least see where somebody's coming from, right? Maybe, and that's the whole goal is, with everything should be to have different opinions and vote the way you want to vote and all that stuff and try to get the changes done, but at least maybe try to understand where they're coming from. Now, there's some things I just simply don't understand, and I don't like to be abrasive and call out, and say things like that guy's an idiot or whatever. But some things going on right now in the United States, which is all the time, but in the news a lot with the aggressiveness of certain people and destroying things and all that is just plain. So it's just stupid. Like I said, I mean that's my opinion. Like I said, I would never say, oh, it's fact, but. I mean, it doesn't help any part of that movement to be doing that kind of stuff. And what's funny is in that movement, there's a lot of I'm talking about like the Black Lives Matter and things like that. There's a lot of white people doing it too. So it's nothing against a particular group of people as far as skin color. It's across the board. So I think it's silly. I think it causes more problems. It creates more problems than it fixes. Tearing down, they're going to. I saw the other day they're going to churches and intimidating people and stuff like that. I'm like, what in the hell does a church have to do with anything? You know what I mean? What are you gaining by doing that? By harassing people, and screaming in people's face and spitting on cops and all that. What is that? What is that helping besides making you look like an idiot? You know what I mean? That's what people see. Do you think somebody's at home sitting there going, man, I'm on the fence, I just don't get in there. And then they see people, throwing stuff at cops. They're just standing there, or anybody, National Guard, whatever it is, or just pedestrians. And what do you think the average American sits there and believes? I mean, I think they're going, oh, yeah, man, kick that cop's ass. No, they're going, man, you had me there for a minute. Now you lost me. Whatever. But so there's a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, man, that's the thing is people, and here's what happens. Here's what really bothers me. Some people they'll say, if somebody calls something out and says that's dumb, like some acts that are, looting, rioting, tearing stuff, all that other crap that's going on kind of the side, in that whole area, and they'll say, hey, that's wrong. And they'll be like, well, we have the right to protest. Of course you do. Nobody's saying you don't have the right to protest. They're saying that other stuff that's going on right there, cut that shit out. Sit out there, hold your signs up, peacefully do it. That's how you do it. That's what the freedom, the freedoms that we have. My civics teacher used to tell me, and this is a dumbed down version of some of the your freedoms. You have the right to do whatever you want to do in the United States, as long as you don't infringe upon somebody else's rights. So that means if you want to get in somebody's face and call them every name under the sun, you have that right, as long as you are not infringing upon theirs. And that is obviously a little gray area. But the moment you touch them, the moment you throw something at them, you spit at them, then you're violating their rights. And then the retaliation obviously becomes, into play. That's a whole different story. But that's the other problem we have in society. I think people take things way too personally. If somebody goes, screw you, then the next guy brings out a weapon and they get into a big fight about it. I don't get that. It's just like, yep, exchange all the firepower and words you want. Fine. Go home, cool off. But your ego gets so bruised, or your manlyhood gets so challenged that you have to go fight somebody or kill somebody. That's just weak anyway. It's just like they always say, man. I've always maintained that you walk into a bar. The one guy you don't want to mess with is the guy sitting in the corner not saying a word. It's the loudmouths that are always causing problems, and they usually get their ass whipped every time. It's because they're compensating and trying to scare people with tactics because they're usually just a pansy anyway, right? It's that philosophy of like trying to show force, and it's just macho bullshit. You know what I mean? As far as in in like out in society, it's just like nobody else cares. Guess what? If somebody calls you a name, oh man, he just made fun of you. Who cares? That dude don't mean shit to me. Pardon my language. If it bothers you that much, you need help. They won already. If what they're saying bothers you, they already won, regardless of what you do to them. They won. So it's just, cool heads prevail, and I know that's hard to say because we have a lot of people, even from the top down, that, in our country that, they're probably not the best beacon of light for, for, what would you call it? Not the best example that you'd want to set sometimes, but unfortunately that's just the way things are right now. But I say unfortunately, like it happens across the board, regardless of who's president or who's governor. You could pick out 1,000 things they've done and say, man, these people are stupid. I mean, it's across the board because they're human too. They're just like us, they make mistakes. And being a president or governor or mayor or whatever it is comes with a lot of responsibility that, people think, oh, that's an easy job. Bullshit. That's hard. You're dealing with everybody coming at you on every end because now the buck stops with you. There is no, well, this guy is higher than me. Nah, you are the guy. So okay, cool. 200 years. That's awesome, Michael. Yeah, man, the statues. And then it's a snowball. The problem with the situation now is a snowball effect, right? It started with statues, and then they regurgitated the Redskin stuff, and now there'll be the Kansas City Chiefs, and then it'll be this. And what's funny? It's ironic is I'm Native American. I have a Native American card. I'm like whatever Cherokee. It doesn't bother me one bit because I don't find that to be offensive. I just find it to be nobody goes around talking like that. Oh man, bunch of Redskins. Nobody even says that crap anymore. It's like something that it's just a talking point, just to like to keep the ball rolling on this whole, we got to fix society thing. I'm just like, it didn't bother me one bit. I mean, Redskins, okay, cool. I like the name. I think it's cool. And me, I think it honors the Native Americans. You got a freaking football team named after you. You kidding me? That's cool. I like the logo on the helmet. I think it's awesome. Whatever. The statues being destroyed is a major statement they want to make seen again. They want to get seen. Nothing more. Yeah, they have no idea what the statements represent. They belong to everyone. Majority rules, not thug life. And that's a good point. I don't think these people have these people that are knocking. And the president alluded to this the other day, which first of all, I'm not going to get into the president, but he actually said that a lot of these people that are destroying the monuments, some of them don't even know what they're doing, and I believe that they're just doing it because it's popular, it's on television, it's like woohoo, let's knock this down, and they don't even know what the hell statue it is. And another good analogy or good comparison there is like, let's say for the sake of argument, the premise is we're going to go tear down the old guard. We want to build a new United States. We want to dismiss our history that's been bad or whatever. That's the thinking, right? Well, look over in Germany, look over in Poland and places like that, where all the concentration camps were at. Those are still there today. As a reminder, they're not tearing Auschwitz down because they know they don't want to remember it for the glorification. They want to remember it so it don't happen again, right? So it won't happen again. It's a memorial. So I'm not suggesting that Christopher Columbus is the same thing as Auschwitz, but the logic there still applies. If you think if somebody thinks there's so much history and hatred behind, Christopher Columbus or whatever, all the, some of the founding fathers, and you want to tear them down, think twice, because if you erase history, you're liable to repeat it, right? Is what they say, Let's think about what's going on. And, that doesn't mean you have to love it, but, I think there's also something to be said about back then in the 1800s, the culture, unfortunately, was like that. And many of the founding fathers and people, they actually denounced that after into the Lincoln, of course, into the what am I thinking of? After Lincoln, you know what I'm saying? I'm thinking of the Emancipation Proclamation, that deal. They denounced it, and some, it was there was some people that after that still held on to that in the South and what have you, but whatever, just get over it. That's not today's society. Nobody's out hanging people or whatever it may be. I mean, that's not the way things are today. We have a criminal justice system that works pretty decently. Is it perfect? No. It always needs to be, held to a higher standard. I'm glad they're starting to get all body cams. There's accountability, almost 100%, right? I mean, very close. There's nothing denying what goes on anymore. The police have to be held accountable as citizens do as well. That works both ways. I think it's a nullifying factor. People stop doing things when cameras are rolling. Most of them, if they're smart. Now, sometimes, obviously, things lately, but whatever. Wolf McLean says, let's see, Southern flag was made because they separated America half slave and half not. The flag was made for slave owners, and then eventually it became a cultural thing in the South. Yeah, I mean, and people argue about the I'm from Oklahoma, which is, kind of the South, if you want to call it that, whatever, Mid-South, whatever. It's a later state, obviously. But it's still people flying rebel flags everywhere. I personally have my own views on that. And my view is it's a sense of pride of not necessarily heritage of that time period, but a sense of defiance and just a rebellious attitude that if, you have the right to believe what you want to believe. And that's that pride. It's almost like the gay pride flag, right? Or the LGBTQ, whatever. I don't know. I've forgotten. I'm not trying to throw shade at that, but whatever that flag is, it's the same sense I feel in that. You know what I mean? When I see that flag, I don't think of hate and racism. I think of just a pride in your upbringing, as long as it's a wholesome upbringing. Like, you grew up in that area. The South had nothing to do with that to me. I don't care about that crap. I think it's just it's a stance. It's a rebellious attitude, and I kind of like that. I kind of dig that. I kind of like, I'm not looking for a fight, but I'm going to stand up for what I believe in, that kind of thing. And that's kind of what the American flag is, by the way. American flag is a complete. The American flag is more rebellious than the Southern than the rebel flag by far. I mean, if you look at the history, how United States came to be, that's the most rebellious thing. If you look at it symbolically, but whatever. Battle flag for South. Yeah, battle flag for the South. Exactly. Okay, cool, man. See you later, comp guy. I think people are so so quick to hate and not love that the world is getting to this point. Well, here's what really saddens me. I say bothers me. It kind of angers me, but it's really sad. Is that you have movements out there, which I think generally are it's a good thing to have. Not speaking to the Black Lives Matter movement. I'm talking about all the inequalities that do exist. I don't believe they exist on the levels that they're on television existing, but I think they are out there, and those need to be addressed. Sure, well, I'm all for that. The thing is, it's just like I feel like a lot of those movements are just pawns in a game, that they're aligning themselves with political parties that don't really care about them to begin with, that are just going to drop them like a bad habit, that they feel like that they align themselves with a party that all of a sudden in 2 years that everything's going to be made whole and everything's going to be sunshines and rainbows. And I got news for them. It ain't going to be. And here's I want to tell you, this is a good example, and this is not a political thing. When Obama got elected, the whole thing was this country's gonna be better for the black community and all that stuff, and I don't really think it ended up being any better. Now they may think it's better because they have a black president, which is fine. I don't have a problem with black president, but I will say this: what did he do so much better than Bush or Trump did? And statistically, and I'm not getting political, Trump has done more for black Americans than Obama did. That's nobody just now people will dispute that just because they don't like to hear the truth, but that is the truth. That he did more for them. And so at least so my point is, if one thinks that by supporting a political side that they're going to somehow come out ahead, history is not on their side. You are in for a rude awakening, and there is not going to be a streets of gold for you coming anytime soon, just like there's not for me or for the next guy. These people are in it for themselves. They could care less about anyone else. And I say that on both sides. I'm not suggesting it's just a left thing. They're pawns in a bigger game. And if they don't see it, that's, in my opinion, their problem. Wake up, woke up or whatever the term is lately. I don't even follow it anymore. I mean, you're so woke, you're not woke enough. And like I said, that's just my opinion. I'm just like, I hate seeing it because it's what happens is then they become even more enraged when the promises are not fulfilled by the party they back. Whatever. 100% blackout Tuesday was just a cover up for the Clintons getting called. Well, yeah. No offense, Obama didn't do anything. Yeah, he has. Trump gave benefits. Both sides are the same. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like the American public needs to wake up and quit following parties blindly. I'm serious. They start using critical thinking. Now, if you wholeheartedly believe one way or the other, and that's how you align yourself with it, go for it. You know what I mean? But don't drink the Kool-Aid. You know what I'm saying? May sip it a little bit and see, well, that's not for me. It's like taking that drink of alcohol that you're like, man, that's just too strong. Like today, I can't drink anything hard. I can drink beer, and that's about it. I mean, I just getting old. But if I take a drink of Long Island iced tea or whatever it may be, rum and Coke, I'm like, whoa, not for me. It's the same thing. You gotta, But some people they'll chug that thing, right? They'll go head first, which is it's kind of the dumbing down of America. It has been for years. It's just like, believe what you're told, don't ask questions, and everything will be fine. But we're looking out for you. Like, that's not ever worked in the history of history. Never has it worked. So, whatever. Yeah, and both sides, yeah. So, and stop believing the news, take 10 minutes of your own time. Yeah, it's just research, usually they say, right, and this is usually kind of the rule when it comes to politics and the news. Got news over here, got news over here. Somewhere in here is the truth, right? Usually. Now, sometimes they hit it here, and they hit it here right on the head as far as what exactly happened and draw your own conclusions. But many times, the truth is somewhere in the middle. And I think to find that middle is what's hard, because they don't want you to find the middle, right? They want you to go here or here, unfortunately. So and that's the hard thing to do, is you need to have already established your stance and your character and who you are in life, then make decisions, as opposed to letting somebody else establish your character. And, and there's still nutballs out there regardless. There's still people, there's sort of people that are already, that are, God love them, they're still in their own world, and they want to believe what they want to believe. That's fine. That's their opinion, that's their right, that's their, their choice. I've always said, I always respect everyone's opinion, regardless of if I don't believe in it. They have the right to their opinion, unless it incites some type of illegal activity or violence or something like that. Somebody perpetuating violence or harm, then that's just wrong. I'll be like, nah, dude, that's stupid. If you're defending yourself, that's one thing. If you're out there hurting innocent people just because that's part of who you are or what you're about, no. You deserve whatever you get coming to you, because that's not a free society. That's not a protected society. Seeing any fake news, Trump? Yeah, there's fake news all over the place, and I will say when he said that, he sure when he first said it a couple years ago, whenever it was, he got that buzz term. It caught on, man. Nobody really talked about like that much. Then all of a sudden, you're fake news. You're fake. I love watching on YouTube his Trump stuff because he's just a funny guy. He's just a interesting character, that's for sure. He's definitely not your typical president. That's a presidential or political guy. These governors and mayors in a lot of blue states have lost control. Yeah, you're talking about blue states. Probably Georgia and Washington and Chicago and Illinois and New York. I don't know if they've lost control, per se, or they just don't care. But I will say, what really bothers me is I saw the other day they blamed it on the coronavirus. The murder rates went real high. They're like, well, people have been cooped up for so long. No. It's not people have been cooped up for so long. That's just, who cares? When that's just a cop out. They don't want to take any of the blame because it looks bad for them, right? That's just stupid. They look dumb. It's just it's like, seriously, why are you doing that? Just own that, own it. Own it. Just say, hey, yeah, we're defunding the police, and yep, crime rates have gone up. I would respect that way more than saying, nope, it's the coronavirus and people are pent up and we don't have the resources. Well, why don't you have the resources? Well, we defunded the police. Well, why'd you defund the police? Well, we had to. Why'd you have to? And it just becomes a la 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 la. And listen, the whole defunding the police thing is just a complete First of all, anybody that knows me, I am not I have nothing against the police, obviously, but I don't like run-ins with the cops. I don't want to be. I have nothing against them. I just, I've had issues with the police before in the past, nothing horrible. But my point is, I have no desire to be pulled over or to deal with them or anything like that. I try to just stay far away if I can. You know what I'm saying? But but on the flip side of that, in a secure and free society, you kind of need them. You know what I'm saying? If we get ruled by the mob, nobody wants that, because then you turn into third world countries, and then you have cartels and gangs that are running everything, and you got to pay them to live there and all that stuff and blah. That's exactly what happens. If you look at other countries, that's exactly what happens. It turns into that situation, and that's not a good one. You can go to Walmart, but you can't go to the beach where you risk the virus is the dumbest thing. If that's the general consensus, I know a lot of people still, the verdict is out if that actually does kill it. And, if it, who knows if it's conclusive or not, because some people say yes, some people say no. But yes, if that is in fact the case, it's like, yes, we can go to Walmart, go to the mall, wherever else is. But no, we can't go to the beach. Dumb. And I get it. They're saying one is essential and the other is not. But I would argue that you're already nullifying that because you're in an open space. How many people on the beach? And I love going to the beach, by the way. Think about this. A crowded beach. A generally crowded beach. I'm not talking about like ridiculously crowded, like out of the ordinary crowded. A holiday weekend, crowded, right? How many people are sitting next to other people within 6 feet on a crowded beach? When I've gone to the beach, 0. You want your personal space. You sit probably 10 feet, whatever, away from somebody else. I never see people that close. The umbrellas would touch, unless you're with your friends or whatever, which that's a different story. Then B, you're outside. You're in an open air environment. And nobody would argue that has any common sense that an open air environment is on the same level as a closed air environment, like a store, or something like that in an enclosed area. It's just common sense. Now, can you still contract things in open air? Well, sure you can, but your odds are less. So I just think that's ridiculous. I mean, but whatever. A lot of these governors and people are doing things for the. I would argue that some of them don't even care. They're just trying to keep their it's all politics. They're trying to keep their job, and if they do the wrong thing, they're going to get chastised for it and not get reelected, and that's bad, right? That's the problem is when you have your own. Everybody's so selfish. Here's another thing: it's selfish across the board. Everybody is selfish. I'm selfish. The next guy is. We can be selfless, but we are generally looking out for our own interests and our family, which is kind of just what people do, right? It's not a bad thing per se, to a certain degree, to look after your family first, right? But when you're in a public office and you should be looking out for the well-being. It's like the captain of a boat, a ship. You go down last, but you sink with the ship. But politicians apparently are the mindset of like, nope, we're jumping ship first. Pretty honorable, right? Very noble. That's the difference between people that actually really do care versus people that I wouldn't say don't care, that kind of weasel the way around it, Anyways. Okay. I have no issue with the police. If you're respectful, they will be 95% all the time. Exactly. Man, yeah, I've gotten tickets for being really nice. I've never been rude to cops, to my knowledge. I mean, I've had some words with them on occasion, but nothing argumentative, nothing that caused a charge or something like that. I probably lipped off to him when I was a kid or something, or said something mouthy and just got a ticket regardless. Or after I got the ticket, after you get the ticket, who cares, right? Because you're already screwed. But no issue with police, respectful. Yeah, it's so easy to be nice. Be nice to everybody, and people are like, why not? Yes, be nice to police, but be nice to everybody. I mean, why do the police got to be people getting angry at the cops when they get pulled over? I get it. You may be getting a ticket. Well, now? This is the honest truth. Were you breaking the law? Were you speeding? And at the end, if you don't agree with the laws, change the laws. If you can't change the laws, move somewhere else. I hate that. People get so pissed off about the laws, and I understand because I get pissed off about them too. But if you really don't like it, leave, because the people voted people in to enforce those laws. The police are just enforcers. They didn't make those laws. For all we know, I know a lot of cops don't agree with a lot of the laws. Before Oklahoma became a medical marijuana state, I had many cops that hated throwing people in jail for that stuff. They thought it was horrible, but they had to do it. They can't, especially with the cameras on, they can't let them go. They'll get fired. They got to do their job. And, I think it's when people realize that cops are just the enforcers of policy. They are not the instruments in which those policies are derived. Those come from the policymakers, which are elected by the people. And if people don't like those policies, they should vote those people out. Yeah, man. I think, I'm not for, militarizing the whole freaking country. I'm not saying we need cops on every corner. Like, you're jaywalking, get thrown in jail. I'm not saying that. But we need people. There's a place for in civil society for law and order. Even when they said I forgot hydrochloroquine, doesn't work. Now they're saying it's effective for stabilized people to allow them to get better. Here's the thing on that. And here's what people, they're all using everything because that came out that was an effective measure for coronavirus. And hey, did it work for everybody? Probably not. Did it work for some? Yeah. But here's another question, and the side question is, of all the people that they used to treat that with, how many had negative side effects? How many of those people that had negative effects of that drug? And if the answer is very little, why do we care? We're trying to help people. It doesn't matter if it's that drug or the next drug. But it seems to be that the president pushed that drug to be used, and not really pushed. He's mentioned it, right? And so they roll with that, and it helps some people. But the fact that it maybe doesn't help everybody, or people want to pull out some factoid that said, well, that's not. Some doctor said that's not the right the right direction we should be headed. All of a sudden, it's Trump was wrong. And listen, I am not advocating. People know me as like I'm kind of a in between guy. I'm more of a libertarian, if you will. So I am not like on the Trump train, choo choo choo, like all the time. You know what I'm saying? I agree with some of it. Some stuff I don't. So I don't party vote. I vote for who I think would be the best candidate for the country. So, but that's just wrong. When they do stuff like that, and they're looking for anything to make somebody look bad, and they do that across the board. They did it to Obama. They do it to everybody. It's not exclusive to him, but the hatred for that man is just ridiculous. And if some of the things that other presidents have said, Donald Trump would say, he would get annihilated. He's held to some higher standard for some reason as a president, and he was never in the politics, really. You know, I mean, he's obviously in business, and I guess that's political, kind of. But, you know, for not being a career politician, he's held to a higher standard than all the other people out there. So, whatever. Or fight in court, just get mad. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just, you know, wait till you get to court if you want to fight the cops, man. And they go, oh, that process, the cops are always, you know, gonna win. You know what? I'll tell you a secret about that. If you get pulled over for a traffic violation, and it doesn't depend on your state. This is how it works here. You know, they give you the option. They give you the ticket. They say, hey, you can either pay this fine, right? They're going to release you right then. You can go on your way, unless it's something bad or, you know, whatever. You can either pay your fine, or you can go to court and fight it. 9 times out of 10, if you've got a good record and go to court and fight it, they'll reduce it or dismiss it. The cop usually doesn't even show up. If you firmly believe that you were treated wrongfully or something or whatever, go fight it. You'll likely will either get it reduced, but they never do that. They just pay the ticket and get pissed off. To me, it's not more about the fact that you feel like there was some injustice done. To me, you feel like the fact that you're pissed off you got caught doing something, now you got to pay for it. Well, when? You know, you got caught. Sorry. You know, you probably got away. Us, as people in the United States, or anywhere around the world, I think we would agree, from a legal standpoint, that if we were being honest with ourselves, like hand on the Bible or whatever it is that you would swear to, that if we were judged on everything legally that we've done in this country, we have gotten away with far more than we've got caught with, right? I mean, so shouldn't we be happy? Or are we just pissed because we don't like it, we got caught? You know? So, it's just, you know, nobody likes getting pulled over. I don't like getting pulled over. My wife got pulled over 2 weeks ago. Her registration was out. We had to go, it was just, the sticker wasn't on this. We had to go deal with that and everything. I don't want to deal with that crap. But hey, you don't want to, I'd argue that if you don't want to do that, don't drive. You don't have the right to drive. It's a privilege, unfortunately, and that's how it's set up. You have the right to move about the country. You just don't have the right to drive, and they set that up for a way which is kind of messed up, but it's a privilege to drive, not a right. Unfortunately, I wish it was a right, because the rights are very hard to take away. Privileges are not. At least that's kind of how that works, I think. Yeah, and the funny thing is, let's just go back up here. We have a modern day witch hunt for bigotry, and the hypocrisy of it. All is the people seeking out their doing so their own prejudice and bigotry. Yeah, it's like hypocrisy. Exactly, Eric. Elric, excuse me. I'm sorry about that. And the funny thing is, everyone who hates Trump now used to be the first in line with their hand out to his money. That's another good thing. You know, it's like, what have you done for me lately, right? Or, you know, it's just sad. I mean, regardless, it would be sad on either political spectrum for that to happen. You know, it's just like, I feel like there's people out there that get it, and I say get it. The moral majority out there that's sitting back and watching this whole thing unfold and going, man, what a bunch of white noise. What a bunch of fodder. Just like, we really have to have this happen? Is this really what's important in society is Is this what really is the pressing issue of our times? This, this situation that we're, that which it's the, those things are problems. You know what I mean? But there are many other bigger problems out there that need to be addressed, and this is on a scale of 1 to 10 is like a 0.5. You know what I mean? And that's not knocking it. That's just statistical. That's a statistical thing. I'm generalizing there, but it's very insignificant to the other problems that we have in this country. We've got a healthcare problem. We've got a family problem. We've got a drug problem. There's all kinds of problems that are way more pressing than what's being presented right now. Is it some that's just my opinion. It's just, but it's what's popular. And unfortunately, what's popular continues to snowball. So hopefully it'll and I'm a little scared when it come election time what happens, because if President-elect gets reelected, lock the doors, right? You know what I'm saying? Because you just saw a small portion of how people like to act when they are upset. Can you imagine what happens then? But on the flip side, what happens if somebody else gets put in office? The reaction of the same group of people is going to be like a party, and they're probably going to burn stuff and do all kinds of things. It's like a football game. Your team wins, you go up there and you tear down the goalposts. Your team loses, you go burn down the goalposts, or you get in fights. It's mass hysteria either way. So there's just so much emotion hinging upon that, and whichever way it goes, it's just going to blow up. And what's funny is the level-headed people, they're on left and the right side. They're going to sit back there regardless of what happens and go, okay, next. Let's see what we can do with this now. Let's see how this goes. As opposed to don't want a temper tantrum or a party. Yep, I vote for Democrats. I vote for America, not Democrats. Snowflakes, feelings, or giving stuff away. Like I said, I've never been a party voter. I'm not remember the last time I voted for president. It's been a long time. I think the last time I voted for president was George Bush, Senior. Oh, no, I would be too young for that. Maybe George W. I can't remember. One of the Bushes. I think I remember. It's been that long since I voted. It was a long time ago. But I don't party vote. If there was a left or a Democrat that was, had some great ideas and was a better candidate than the other side, I'd vote for him. I don't party vote. I think that's silly, in my opinion. You vote for who you want to. You vote for who you want to, regardless of what color their donkey or elephant and all that shit is. Pardon my language. Yeah, earn your way, at least try. Turn off the news, interact with your fellow mans, seeking that common ground, and you can start the dialogue. But the polarized base on both sides are unwilling to take the first step on removing themselves from their echo chamber. There's a lot there, but yeah, I agree with that. I would say start in your community, like you say. Meet some people around you that maybe you don't know. Befriend some people. That doesn't mean you're gonna hang out with them every day, but you may. Everybody, because the little cliques, right? And they're not all racial cliques. There's this clique. There's churches have cliques, which is weird. Churches are supposed to be very, very, open and fellowship, and they've got cliques. And there's the rich clique, and there's the woman clique, and there's whatever. It's just people get so divided, and I understand you want to be around people that you have like-minded, like-minded folks, but step outside your comfort zone every once in a while. That's something I've done over the last several years is really try to think on the other end of it and try to, at least listen to people. And, as long as this thing's all about the approach. We have a nice dialogue and they're just wonderful to talk to. And they're like, it's the tone. I've always been about tone. I don't know what the deal is. It's how you approach somebody. If somebody comes up to you and is like, has a discussion and they do it with grace, and they're like, man, I appreciate your opinion. I don't agree with it, but maybe we can have a discussion about it in future, and I wish you the best. Perfect. The flip side, why you gotta think like that? You idiot. You're racist. Whatever. Get out of here. fool. That kind of stuff, and that works everywhere. It's just like, come on, that doesn't do anything. You have just completely. Now, what happens to people, not me, but some people, they see that and they align that behavior with every other person like that, whether it be skin tone, height, weight, whatever. You think that person now is like every one of those other people, which is wrong. So it's all about the approach, man. I'm telling you, how you come up to somebody. People come in my store. We're not a storefront. I have people come in there. They would, hey, I've got some stuff I'd like to sell to you, or whatever they're asking, or they'll call me up, and I say, sure, bring it in, and I'm there, and I say, and we're working out, we're trying to figure out something, for them, I was like, here's what I can offer you for this, and they get offended by it or whatever, whatever, and they get pissed and they leave, and I'm like, they come back a week later with something else. What do you think in the back of my brain is going to be the best thing for them? To help them out, or to not want to deal with them? See what I'm saying? You catch more flies with honey. The guy could have just walked out and been like, hey, man, I appreciate your offer, but let me think about it. I appreciate your time. That's the way you should do it. Not, you're just trying to make money. Yeah, that's what I do. Exactly. Ding, ding, ding. Now, it's just funny. It's just one of those things, but you'll never get that to your business owner and do what I do. But I mean, it's kind of like Pawn Stars, right? They're exactly right on that. It's like, it takes time. It takes inventory. I've got a lot of stuff, and it's stuff that I haven't sold in a long time, and it just sits. And that's how you have to approach it, right? And until you in my shoes or in another business owner's shoes, you'll never get it. And it's just I say you can get it. It's just it becomes personal because it's your livelihood, right? It's like you can't take that much risk. Anyway, what am I at here? The greatest thing about Trump is he wasn't deep into politics, so Washington got dementia and started bouncing off walls. That's funny. I'm about 20 days away from moving into my Star Wars room. Oh, cool. Awesome, Lewis. Awesome. That's awesome. Logic and a little compassion is missing largely due to Twitter. That works both ways, Denny. And I'll tell you what, Trump, and we're talking about Trump a little bit. Sometimes he needs to get off Twitter. I'm sorry. I think everybody has a right, his opinion. He obviously doesn't have a filter sometimes. And some people love that about him. I love the fact that people just stay off the cuff, and they do, because I do that a lot too. But at the same time, man. Maybe you should have like some advisor before you say some of that stuff. Because it just comes as a president. It just looks kind of like, man, just maybe go 50% there. Don't go the whole 100. Lead us that way, but don't take us there. Reminds me of the movie Idiocracy, the way people act. Yep. Idiocracy. Yeah. Yeah. That's I don't know. People just need to relax. Go. Spend some time with your family. Go to the lake. Go for a walk. Turn off your phone. Listen to some music. Whatever it is. If you don't have those things, find something. And if you don't want to find something, if you're consumed with the politics or whatever, then wow. Most New Yorkers don't have filters. That's right. I'm not, I've been in New York in a long time. I only went to the airport. I think I went to the airport one time. Been to D.C. a few times. Chicago a few times. Never had a problem. Never didn't like it. It's just I'm used to a smaller environment of people. So I mean, I'm just I don't like waiting. I'm impatient. So those places would not be for me. I'm like, come on, man. Wait, traffic for 3 hours or whatever. Like, nope, not me. I'd rather just sit at home. Yeah. But yeah, just, that's cool that, I mean, like coming on here, everybody's really calm and collective and loves to just like, and nobody really argues. That's what I like about people on the store page, man. People just, they're not, I'm sure everybody has an opinion. But, it's how you go about expressing that opinion. And everybody on here and online is just good souls, man. They either I just got lucky or have had to deal with it, which is a good thing. Because You know, you got to be careful what you say, and you can't, just from my position, which I'm just in the, kind of like normal position. I just use some common sense. Dims destroyed it. I won't even visit my family. Man, I went to Chicago a couple of times, for celebration. I went up there last time, and I didn't. It wasn't for me. I mean, it's just. But yeah, there's some. Yeah, I don't know if they just they destroyed it. But I mean, I'm not sure. But wouldn't be my first choice. If I had to go somewhere, I'd live off the grid. I'd be like, no, I'm gonna pass on that. But nothing against it. Oh man, I'm probably like you're probably like me, Michael. Is I go to read some of these comments from political, pundits and what have you, and I'll read some of the comments, and some of these people, man, it just. God love them, have no filter, which is great for them, but I guess if that's what you want to be. But it's like there's no way in hell that you would say that in real life just because you would be embarrassed. Your mama would slap you. That kind of thing. And maybe their mama wouldn't. I don't know. But the point is, I believe we all have a conscience, and if those things that you say or do, if that is not ringing in your head as why am I saying them, and don't sit there and go, man, that was stupid. You got all kinds of issues. The silent majority is behind opening up the country because they see the COVID cover-up and the hypocrisy coming from the mainstream media. I grew up in New York and moved to Arizona 18 years ago. Okay. What part of Arizona do you live in, Michael? I know Denny's out there in Arizona. If the prime don't kill you, the taxes definitely will. Greedy. Yep. Pick your poison, right? Do you want it from this end? You want it from this end? It's it's not a perfect society by far. It is not. But we got to realize people want a perfect society, but people aren't perfect, right? Maybe it's perfect for somebody, but perfect for somebody could be hell for somebody else, right? Arizona Route 66, way to go. Oh, Gilbert, okay. I have family up in Prescott, or Prescott, I should say, Valley, up in that area. So, been out there one time. Probably go back again, maybe a couple years. I enjoy it. It's nice area. Arizona Route 66, way to go. I want to go take my wife. We've been thinking about going to Lake Havasu at some point. It's a long drive. It's a boring drive because it's straight down 44, or 66, I guess is what 44 became. Yeah. So it's always cooler up there. It's because it's higher elevation, so it's not quite as hot. But yeah, we're thinking about going over to Havasu in that area, go to the lake over there because it's always hot over there. And it's hot here too. Today it's close to 100, and I think by the weekend it's supposed to be 106, 107. The heat index is like 115, 120. So yeah, it's gonna be hot. We love being on the water. We have a boat, and we love going to the lake. It's summertime is either the lake or the ocean. We love being on the water. And lately we really love it because you get the hell away from people for a couple reasons. For the COVID kind of thing, a little bit, not so much because it doesn't really bother me a whole lot. But there's that, and then we have the other part. We have we just love being on the water because you get away from people. Just to be able to just not nothing to do with health wise. Just being able to like in a car. You have the ability to. You don't have the really ability. You're stuck in traffic in a lake. You're not really stuck. You can kind of do your own thing, right? Kind of like flying a plane. You have the ability to get away and make your own space and have your own little bubble. Good catch, Prescott. Yeah, 40 minutes from Havasu, but it's the same temp as Phoenix. Yep. Yeah, I remember that you live further west over. That's right, Denny. It's 100 right now. Going to be 108. Oh gosh. back to work in the Oklahoma heat. Enjoyed hearing from you. You should do this again? Opening? Yeah, man, I'll do it again sometime. I just got bored. I just got back from a vacation. I was in Montana, so I was back. So beautiful weather up there, by the way. But yeah, Eric, Oklahoma heat. Whew, you know what I'm talking about. Have a good day. 100 going to be 108. Ooh, it's going to be hot. I know. Prescott, yeah. That's funny because the way it's read is Prescott, but locals call it Prescott. Yeah. I learned that a couple years ago. And my dad lives in Prescott in the winter, and in the summertime he lives in Montana, so he stays away from the heat, or at least the majority of it. 90 minutes south of Vegas, 101 today. Man, that heat's going to build up too over the next 4 or 5 days. Like if you look at let's see here. Let's go. The 10 like for Lawton. I live in Southwest Oklahoma in the Lawton area, which is a small community, 100,000 people. So our forecast: Friday 101, Saturday 106, Sunday 100, Monday 103, 103. I'm just going down. It doesn't get below 100 for like the next 2 weeks. The low temperature is 80 degrees. With at least the winds are not stagnant. South winds 15 miles an hour, which is a decent breeze. It's not crazy, but it's better than being just completely horrible. Wow, hot, swampy. And that's the thing here also is we have humidity. So we crank in that humidity as well, and it makes it just oppressive. So now you're 100 degrees and just that Gulf, we have that Gulf moisture that comes up from the Gulf, obviously. The moisture that comes from the Gulf, I should say, I went backwards. And you get a little bit of that, and it's just like you can't get cool anywhere. Even inside, the air conditioners, they can only work so hard. This is tough. Humidity, yep. Oklahoma does have, and there's times when it doesn't have, but not all the time. Try answering a question. Yeah, humidity. It's horrible. So yeah, that's what I do in my spare time. In the summertime, I try to stay at the lake or at ocean if we're ever by the ocean. Which probably maybe we'll go this year again. I've already been 3 times. I went to Florida 3 times to Florida. Twice to Miami side and then one to the Tampa side, which was fun. I liked it. I liked it all, but I'm glad I went when I did, because now I think they're closing down the beaches in Miami, or I don't know what they're doing. Whatever. I like Florida. A lot of people don't. You just gotta get past the traffic and all the retirees. Just kidding. A lot of retirees. Anyhow, well, I am going to hop off of here. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll try to do this again sometime. I enjoy it. You guys are awesome. But try to do a live sale tonight at 7 p.m. Get back on the horse, so to speak, and sell some more stuff to you guys. Capitalism 101. Notice I didn't talk about toys the whole time. Not by design, but anyways, hope you guys have a great day. Make it a good one, and I guess I'll see you guys later. Always feel free to reach out to me on Facebook or whatever if you want to holler at me. You guys have a good day. Have a good one. Adios.